Hey guys, today we are going to completely demystify what is args and kwargs in Python. At some point when you started to learn Python, you might have came across these two weird arguments and you want to know how they work and what they do. You're in the right place because today we're going to completely demystify them. And before we do that, consider liking this video because it serves as a huge encouragement for us to make more such videos. And without any further ado, let's get into it. Now, as you can see, this is a small add function. This is a regular function which takes two positional arguments, adds them both, and prints them onto the console. Now, let's try to run this program. As you can see, without any surprise, we got answer 3 because 1 plus 2 is equal to 3, right? This function is doing what it's supposed to do. But this function is not as flexible as it should be, right? I want my add functions to add as many as arbitrary number of arguments which I passed into it. So say for example, I want to pass in like 5 arguments, 10 arguments, 11 arguments, 12 arguments. How will I achieve that? Now if I try to add more than 2 arguments into this function right now, this will sure throw me an error. Yeah, we have got a type error. So what this function actually says to us is that this function can't handle more than 2 positional arguments, but we have given them 5, so it is giving us a type error. Okay, so I want to make this function more flexible. Here is where that args comes into play. With some modification to the above code, we are now able to achieve the flexibility which we want. That means before we could only add 2 positional arguments into this function. If we try to add more than 2 positional arguments, the Python interpreter will throw us an error. But now we could add more than 2 positional arguments and still get the output which we want. Let's try to run this program and verify this behavior. And yeah, we have got a total of 176, which I think is correct. So now how this function actually works, that's the main thing to know. So it takes a variable args and a single asterisk symbol before it. And the important thing to note here is this args can be arbitrary. That means you could put your j, you could put your k, you could put your l, anything as you wish. But the main important thing is this star, this asterisk symbol over here. This is the one which makes all of these inputs, which takes all of these inputs, packs them into a single iterable object named args, okay, so that later on we can loop through the args, add it to this total, okay, we are adding it to the total. After completing this loop, we are printing out the total onto the console. One more time, I'm going to repeat this. This single asterisk symbol packs all of these inputs into the single iterable object named args. We are looping through the args. We are adding it to the total. After completing the loop, we are printing out the total. That's how this function actually works. One more time, I'm repeating that this args is arbitrary. You can put whatever variable as you wish. If you change this to k, you should also change this args also to k. Then this function will work as expected. Now I guess you might understand that how this function, this args, can bring that flexibility which you need on this function, right? So I hope you understand args. Now let's move on to learning how kwargs work, right? Args and kwargs are both similar things, okay, but the only difference is args takes in positional arguments. This all are positional arguments. It takes all these positional arguments and packs them into the single iterable object. But what about keyword arguments? For example, this one. These are the example of a keyword arguments where we are specifying name is equal to June and age is equal to 21. That means it's a keyword argument. So now what this form function does is it symbolizes or it imitates a form, online form, where you can specify your personal information. The only information specified in this function is name and age, and this brings out onto the console. Now let's run this program and verify this behavior. And yeah, and this is the old output. Let me comment out that one, which is not needed right now as we completed args. And you can see, right, this is printing out June is 21 years old. This is working. But still, this isn't flexible enough, right? What if I'm having more personal information which I'm trying to put it into the form? But how will I do that? Here's where kwargs comes into play. Let me just copy this form example, and let me comment this out. And you can see it's the same form but with the addition of this kwargs variable. Now let's know how this function actually works. Firstly, let's run this program to check whether this function actually works or not. Oh, it will not work because syntactical error. I'm sorry about that. Let me just cancel this build. I just forgot to put this parenthesis over here. Let's run this one more time. And yeah, we are getting it. So it's printing out, it's looping through this kwargs and printing out first name is Mohan, last name is Krishnan, age is 21, phone number is this random gibberish number. So how actually this function works? As args, this takes in two asterisk symbol. Args takes in one asterisk symbol, this takes in two asterisk symbol. Again, this kwargs is an arbitrary variable. You can put anything as you wish. You can put your H, J, K, anything as you wish. But args and kwargs are convention used by many developers out there, so you should follow that. But it's your wish, you could actually add anything you want. So we are looping through. Actually, this kwargs is a dictionary. Okay. So it stores them as a key value pairs. Okay. The key will be this first name and the value will be this Mohan. Okay. So it stores all of these inputs as a key value pairs in a dictionary named kwargs. Okay. So later on we are looping it through the items. Okay, there is a method called as items in a dictionary object, kwargs, and we are splitting them into key and value over here. Okay, then we are printing them onto the screen. For each iteration we are printing them. Okay, that's how this function works. And yeah, that's how kwargs works. A key important thing to note here is that the ordering of the arguments in the function is so important. So to explain this better, let me show you an example. Take this function, okay? This function does nothing, but it takes in regular arguments a and b. It takes in star kwargs and star args, okay? What do you guys think will happen now? Let me comment out this old code. What will happen? Will this function run successfully or will it throw an error? Let's check that by running this program. It throws an syntax error. But why it throws a syntax error? What's wrong with this? I don't know what's wrong with this, but there is some slight mistake here. The mistake is this is not in a correct order. The ordering must be somewhat like this. Okay, firstly, there must be regular args. Okay, that's correct. We have A and B over here. But next, it must be args, star args. But we have here kwargs. That's wrong. Okay, let's now change that. Okay, let's now change that and put it over here. Now let's verify whether this function is working correct or not. And yeah, now this is not giving me any output because we haven't done anything with this function. But this function is not throwing me an error. That's good. Okay. This is how the ordering must go. So now let's do a small recap. So what is args? Args is a tuple containing all of these arbitrary number of arguments. And how this actually works is this asterisk operator packs all of these inputs, okay, all of these inputs into this variable as a single iterable object. So later on we can do whatever we wanted to do with that iterable object, okay. So that's how args works. So how kwargs works? The way that kwargs works is it takes all of these key value pairs, packs them into this kwargs variable as a dictionary object. Okay, so later on you can loop them and do whatever you want. So one of the key difference between args and kwargs is that args takes all of the positional arguments, these are called as positional arguments, and packs them into this args variable. And what does kwargs do? Kwargs takes only these keyword arguments, key value pairs, and packs them into this dictionary object. That is the only key difference between args and kwargs. I hope we actually demystified what is args and kwargs in today's video. If you have any clarification regarding today's video, kindly put them down in the comment section below. I'll answer all of them, okay? And that's guys, let's see you in the next video.